I'm David Holper, and I'm the Poet Laureate for the city of Eureka. I'm the first Poet Laureate, so this program just started this year, and we're about halfway through the year, so I thought it'd be a good time to share a little of what I've been doing and share a couple of poems today. So as Poet Laureate, I've taken on a couple of projects. I've served as the MC for the Youth Night for the Against the Wind Festival in November in Arcata. I brought my poetry class from College of the Redwoods to the Morris Graves to do a reading. It's Poetry Out Loud season, so all the local high schools are doing Poetry Out Loud. I just judged the Eureka High event, and I'm going to be judging the county in February. And more importantly, I'm working on a grant that I submitted to Humboldt Area Foundation for a couple of projects that'll be in the spring. So, but I thought one of the fun things about being the poet is I get to write 4 poems this year about the local area. So I brought a couple of them today. One of them, the first one I wrote was about the North Jetty. So I actually took a little trip out to the North Jetty and sat out there for a few hours and wrote. And this is the poem that emerged from it. North Jetty. I have come here for nothing. To write a poem is such a useless effort. Even if the poem amounts to something, what good will it do? Will my sitting and scribbling this morning at the mouth of Humboldt Bay, watching the swells roll in off the Pacific, change anything? Will it, for instance, feed a starving child, or teach somebody to read, or cause someone to abandon a prejudice poisonous enough to make them pick up a gun and slaughter everyone in sight? Surely not. I kick my feet against the concrete block where I sit, remembering how my daughter one spring asked me to lift her into our cherry tree, both of us burying our faces in the white blossoms and laughing uproariously. Until that moment, the blossoms had been merely blossoms. It is the same with poetry, I imagine. All a poem ever seems to do is deliver you to this moment, as a cormorant lifts off wingtips beating blue water, until it leaps into the air, disappearing westward. As for me, I vanish from the beach, pocketing a sand dollar as I go. When I set it on the porch rail later and fall into sleep, perhaps you might notice how the full moon rises, offers its pale witness to everything. Perhaps that is the most that can be expected from a poem. Or maybe such beauty defies utility, transforming us all in moonlight. All right, this next poem is called Tuluwat Island. And as many of you are probably familiar with, in October of this year, the city of Eureka officially returned Tuluwat Island to the Wiyot tribe. And what I didn't know at the time this was happening was, when I was reading about it, is that in recent research, it's been revealed that Eureka is the first city in the United States to return land to any tribe as a gift. And that seemed sort of miraculous to me, and I thought I should write a poem commemorating this event. So this is called Tuluwat Island, and it's in 3 parts. Part 1. Let us then risk ourselves in remembering what has been so conveniently forgotten. Let us answer to the darkness done to the Wiyot on the morning of February 26, 1860. What words will serve to transport you to Tuluwat Island, to show you in sharp relief the horrors executed on the women, children, old men? Even if I could conjure it, what magic would distill your belief in these white men's dark sorcery, of machetes, hatchets, and clubs, how they cleaved the skulls of the women and the children, how they bashed in the brains of the old men, leaving blood pooling on the land, where the Wiyot had only come to celebrate the holy renewal of the world. Yes, a few escaped, one hid in a trash pile. A child was found suckling at his dead mother's breast. One man leaped into the bay and swam to Eureka. No one knows the number. Only those survivors could say for certain what the land witnessed in blood. Every single survivor heard what the land cried out. It called to them in grief, "Do not forget this place. Do not forget that if ever the world is to be renewed again, This is the ground where the people must gather and sing. Part 2. Let us risk ourselves in imagining who can speak for these dead, their bodies long ago consigned to the grave. But Tuluwat can speak. Tuluwat can lift its ancient voice out of the gloom of the fog, can sing to those imprisoned to die in Fort Humboldt, to those consigned to the misery of the reservation. Tuluwat knows the sweet words to tongue to the children who were ripped from their parents, held hostage in boarding schools where their native tongues were straitjacketed in English, where they were forced to behave as if the God they did not believe in ordained everything the white people commanded them. Until the aftermath consisted of so much pain, it only seemed to wash away in alcohol or whatever poison served. But even in all their pain, they knew Tuluwat cried out for them to survive, to remember what the land reminded them could never be forgotten. Part 3. Let us risk ourselves then in celebrating this day. Let Tuluwat be returned to the Wiyot. The land desecrated with trash and toxins, no matter. No one can kill the land. Let us hear the joyful voices of those who know what Tuluwat has long taught them, that blood must not be answered in blood. It must be answered in apology, in the Wiyot songs and dances. For in this celebration, we all prepare to renew the world again. Let the land cry out too, to renew each of us in this blessing, to renew what has been broken in everyone, to renew in the giving back, in the receiving. Let us bow then to the greater spirit in each of us. Yes, bow, make sacred offerings, and let all of us rejoice as the land cries out on this great good day.